Hey, could someone please call respiratory?
Welcome to the Hey, Could Someone Please Call Respiratory podcast with your hosts Eric Harder and Denise Van Baal.
All right, well, I would like to welcome everybody back to another episode of the Hey, Can Someone Please Call Respiratory podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest, my very handsome, smart, and wonderful firstborn son. His name is Jacob Michael Harder, and he is here on the podcast. Jacob Michael, would you say hello to the podcast, folks?
Hello.
And so just so we're clear, you are saying hello to my mother-in-law, your mom, Denise's boyfriend at the time. And
not going to watch.
I'm sorry?
He's not going to watch.
Gotcha. And then also a beautiful wife, because she doesn't watch the podcast.
Rude.
Yep. And now that her son is on the podcast, she will absolutely be watching the podcast. Is that a 100%?
Yeah. Also, Sophia will, so it's another. Viewer.
Sophia will watch it as well. Yeah.
Well, my kids will watch it too.
Okay. Your kids, my mother-in-law, your boyfriend.
No.
Unless you break up with him before the podcast airs.
He wouldn't watch it anyway.
Gotcha. Nonetheless, I would like to welcome Jacob Michael to the podcast. And we actually, even though I came up with the idea last night, because I'll explain why my son is on the podcast, but we did have another person scheduled for our podcast that was to air today, but something happened. What happened?
He quit.
I'm sorry?
He quit.
Oh, he quit.
I managed him out.
That's true. That's true.
I had it. I love him.
I do too.
Let me say that. I do love him as a person.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah. So do I. Yeah.
But he will not be here today or ever again.
He will not be on the podcast.
You better watch it, Jacob. I'll manage you out too, bud.
That's hard. That's an absolute truth. But Jacob, I think someday, what will be your role in the company?
I want to be the CEO of the company like Daddy.
and then what's going to happen?
I could cry. That's the sweetest thing I ever heard. I have allergies. I'm not crying.
So my son, who is fantastic, is also my wife coming from education. And those of our 14 followers and listeners.
Wow, 14.
Actually, I forgot to mention.
Oh, the respiratory coach.
Respiratory coach, yes. But we also have, I heard, a secret admirer, a very handsome devil. His name is Andrew. He is my nephew through marriage. It is John and Lisa's son, Andrew, apparently watches the podcast.
Yeah, he likes me.
Well, I don't think that's
That's true. What Jacob said.
That's not what I said.
That's what he told me this morning.
That is not what I said.
That's what you said. Ooh, Andrew thinks you're pretty. I was like,
no, that's not what I said. I said
the only
he watches
one.
the podcast.
That's not what you said, Jacob. That's not what you said.
Yes, it is.
Don't lie now that we're on the TV. Don't do that.
So I would like to say hello to Andrew. And I'm not sure, Andrew, I am mad at you. Did you know that your, I guess, what does he call Aunt Carol?
I have no
Mom.
idea.
Grandma, something. I don't know. Anyways, her voice is the intro music to, hey, can somebody please call respiratory? That's his grandmother. So Andrew, doing unbelievable, fantastic things. I think he's actually the CFO of the United States or something. He works for a big company. And I remember when he was just a little guy, and now he's a big baller in the financial world. So way to go. Fantastic. All right. So in addition, the reason I was talking about explaining and then got down the other rabbit hole of Andrew was the fact that I wanted to mention why Jacob is on the podcast. So he does the homeschool deal, right? And my wife, who was a school counselor, was so passionate about the kids getting a proper education that she has homeschooled all 3 kids. And so as a public school kid myself, I heard of homeschool and I said, huh, what's that? What do we all have to eat the yogurt? And do we all have to, I don't know, what's some other homeschool jokes?
You don't have to wear pants at school. That's amazing.
Yeah. Any other homeschool jokes, Jacob?
I think that was all. Well,
Yeah.
you always joke about the hummus, but actually you like hummus.
Okay.
You like hummus. I figured out that he does actually like hummus.
Yeah.
That sounds bad.
So as part of what I can contribute, I guess, to the homeschool curriculum is I
Class
just
plan.
that's true, my dear. So what I can, my part of the actual instruction would be wrapped around, running our small business, right? And so what I've always wished, I guess, as a kid was that I was given opportunities to not necessarily have to be working for somebody else, right? And so, Jacob and Sophia and Brady have been obviously in our family. And so we have conversations with them about different things. And so, Jacob has asked questions through the years, and I have had conversations with him through the years. And he got to a point where he started really thinking about some of those things and asking questions, to the point where Jacob has decided to purchase medical equipment from some of our distributors and with his own money, and invest in the business. And so that he gets, and that now that he has revenue producing assets. So I'm very proud of him at a very young age. He is 13 years old now. I think he purchased his first revenue producing asset when he was 12, and many years before I had any revenue producing assets. So
What about the lawnmowers?
yeah, I guess, but I think that was my mom's lawnmower. I didn't own it, but I used it.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, but we only were charging $5 a lawn.
You really charge me $40 to do my lawn?
Your boyfriend?
No, I don't date the landscaper. I gotta draw a line somewhere, you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
And if it was my boyfriend, I would be paying in cash.
So what I would like to do today is I would like to ask Jacob a few questions. So the first question that I have, Jacob, for you is, why did you decide to purchase medical equipment?
So, like you said, you talked to me a lot about investing and your business. And at Christmas time, I had received some money from Christmas, and you said, well, you can get a bunch of Legos and stuff, or you could use that $150 and invest in the CPAP. And we thought about it for a long time, and then I decided to buy one, and I came here and we picked up the CPAP, and to my knowledge, it is currently on rental.
Well,
That leads into another.
what had happened was you flaked on our meeting a couple of weeks ago, like 6
I
times.
did.
So rude.
I did.
No, I'm kidding.
I waited at home for like the longest time.
Excuses.
Yeah.
I waited at home doing homework.
No, it's not on run. It was picked up, but it will be back out. It'll go out, and I'll let you know.
Yeah. So Jacob invested some money. We won't go into the financials as to what they are and what the rental return is and all that. But he has decided to. So let's talk about what you decided to do. Let's not talk about any of the numbers, but let's talk about what you decided to do. So you have one revenue producing asset right now, correct?
Yes, I currently have one revenue producing asset.
Beautiful. And then you've decided to buy how many more?
3 more.
Great. So you're going to have 4 revenue producing assets.
Yes.
And so again, not talking about how much that will net you or that you will get, but the idea was to what? Oh, look, hold on. Mommy's on. Let's see. Hi, hon. Come on. You're on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
You're right there. My wife, very nice.
Hey, Trish.
Hello.
My wife, great.
Hi, Mommy.
What does it say? Oh, no. My
Do you know
wife.
that that's how it comes up in my phone, too? It's
My
ridiculous.
wife, very nice.
How's the podcast going? You guys still funny?
I was saying that this was probably the only one that you'll watch.
Agreed.
Great.
All right. Well, we are right in the middle of the podcast.
Okay, have fun. Hi, Jacob. Hi, Denise.
Hey.
All right, bye.
Hi, Trish.
Hi, honey.
Bye.
Bye, you guys. Bye.
All right. So, anyways, back to the podcast. So you will have 4 revenue producing assets, right? And then the reason that you wanted to do that was what?
I wanted to so I wanted to be able to at a young age be able to have enough money to say like do some stuff that not like pay for my own college or invest in or pay for my own car. And
Okay.
And I have decided like every month I'm gonna try to buy another CPAP every month.
Awesome.
And hopefully by the end of say 2 years, I'll have enough to start thinking about that kind of stuff.
Awesome. So, but what the other question was, what is the point of having revenue producing assets?
I think the point of having revenue producing assets is to for me is to be able to learn how to do this at a young age and to be able to have some financial freedom when I'm older and be able to like I said, pay for my own college or not not just like be living from paycheck to paycheck, and that I will be able to do some stuff that I would not be able to do with that.
Cool.
And
And so, oh, sorry, go ahead.
and it will give me practice for when I'm older, and I'll hopefully take over the business.
And what's going to happen to me? Can't even say it because
Yeah.
So what you're saying is at some point you would take over the business, and then how would the org chart work from that point moving forward? Where would your position be in relationship to Denise?
You want me to end this meeting and then come out there and end you?
I want to keep Denise.
No, we're not talking about getting rid of her, but who would she report to then?
I'm still going to report to myself just like I do now, bud.
Don't get bullied in the
Don't try to play me out on the podcast, homie. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Bullying is not okay.
Don't do that. I had
All right,
enough of the nonsense yesterday.
So you're very interested in maybe working yourself into the business at some point and learning everything. So what I was getting at was, what's the one main difference between having a revenue producing asset and then having a W-2 job where you are working hours or what have you? What's the good part about revenue producing assets?
Well, when you're when you have a job, well, you have to it's by hours and it's by working, and you have to work for, I mean, nothing against working for your money, but you got to work for everything, every single cent you get. And with a revenue producing asset, you're making money while you're sleeping.
There you go. That's the main thing. You nailed it. Making money while you sleep, which is a great thing. So, so obviously our family is not all about money. Businesses, I'm sure you've heard me say businesses are, and Denise knows this, are largely about money, and they have to be profitable so that everybody in the group is able to get paid and that the business continues to grow is very important. But there is a component to our business that I don't think I've talked about before, but we are a for-purpose business. And what does it mean to be a for-purpose business, Jacob?
It means that you are supporting something, and you're supporting something that's not, all the money's not just going to you, and all the money's so we don't we support the Norristown Hospitality Center? We'll get into that. Yep, but we are, so we you're right in what you said, was that we try to make money so that we can make it matter. And what that means is that we try to make as much money as we can so that we can help as many people as we can. So we recently transitioned from heavily supporting a homeless shelter and to we moved into our own family foundation in many ways, where we people that are struggling and that type of thing, we're making commitments to those new families, people that are in trouble, and we are hoping to grow that organization to a point that we can help numerous amounts of people. So I won't go into the very, very specifics of it, but making our money matter is really important. And it's not just a statement that, we give a little bit of money here and there and from time to time. It's about committing to it and it being sort of baked into the business. And that is, in fact, what our company stands for. So I'm proud of that. So we're trying to model that in our lives, and then we're also trying to do that with you guys too, so that you know that you can make a major impact and not just buy a boat, like Denise has a boat.
I do have a boat.
Yeah. So, Jacob, so you are interested in continuing to buy medical equipment, right? So you're going to own 4 CPAPs. What other devices are you potentially interested in?
I'm potentially interested in a ventilator.
Okay.
Which is a big goal, but I will try to get to that.
Cool.
It rents for a lot of money, and I hope, and I feel like that would be pretty worth it to do.
Cool. Awesome. And then the last thing we'll say, Denise, do you have anything to chime in? Because I can see that there's some work being done on the emails.
I can't stop. It's weird. Sorry. No. No, I think it's great. I think it's great that he's getting started at a young age. I think it's great that you got him here. I think it's great that you're involved in him. I think it's funny that you think he's going to be my boss. No, I love Jacob. He's a good kid.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is, Jacob, what is the difference between good debt and bad debt? Is all debt good? Is all debt bad? Can you speak to that?
Well, this has been a frequent conversation in our house, but good debt is debt that you're using, good debt is when you go out and you get a loan, and then you put that money into a revenue producing asset or something that makes you money. Bad days when you go out and you go buy a Rolex, and you go buy
Or boat.
you go buy some Gucci pants, and then
Some Gucci pants.
Hey, I mean, they can make you money. I tell you what, you can make some money in the Gucci pants.
Okay.
But then you and that will just sit there and depreciate, not and that will not make you that won't benefit you.
Sure. Yeah, and buying stuff's not necessarily bad, right? But if by identification there is a difference between good and bad debt. And Saturday, huh?
Yeah, I'm tripping. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. A difference between good and bad debt, and it sounds like you have a really good handle on that. And I want you to know I'm very proud of you. I love you very much, and I'm so excited that you are going to be Denise's boss someday.
Oh, I must give the finger on the podcast. Sorry.
All right.
I still mean it.
All right. Well, Jacob, I want to thank you for coming on another episode of the Hey, Can Someone Please Call Respiratory podcast. It was great having you on. And, it's important to not only talk about respiratory issues, nursing home issues, and hospice issues and telehealth issues, but it's also important to talk about some of the things that our business is doing to try to help people. And I think that's pretty important. And then whenever I can get one of my pride and joys on the podcast, then that's a big win for me. So love you, son. You are fantastic. And everybody did a great job on the podcast, but
Jacob did the best.
Jacob did the best. Nailed it. All right, bud. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and thanks for all you listeners, especially Andrew and you handsome devil you. We will holler at you next time on the Hey, Can Somebody Please Call Respiratory podcast.